This episode of This Week in Web Series is brought to you by spidvid.com. Connect, collaborate, and create video entertainment. Today's special guest on This Week in Web Series is Lewis Roscoe from Frontier Prelude to Darkness. Okay, welcome to This Week in Web Series. This is episode 6. We have a guest from New Zealand today. His name is Lewis Roscoe, and his web series is called Frontier Prelude to Darkness. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Travis.
Yeah, good to have you on.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you.
And I've wanted to have you on for a while because, A, you're from New Zealand, and that's awesome. And I want to hear your voice on the web series community and what's going on and what you're up to. And your show is extremely interesting and unique because it uses both flash animation, so 2D animation, and CG, so three-dimensional 3D stuff. So it's cool.
Yeah. The reason actually that that was sort of the way I went was because I would not have had the cash to pay people and get a set together and get everything set up, and it's so much easier if it's just completely virtual. I mean, okay, you're gonna, I suppose, lose a bit, and you're gonna sink into that category of cartoon. But at the same time, it opens up so many. You can do anything you want.
So what you're saying was, you originally thought it would be live actors in it?
I suppose it crossed my mind for all of 3 seconds before I thought, no, I'm not going to be able to. That would be so massive. I mean, you'd be doing. I think to do Frontier with live actors would be the equivalent of what when you see the making of like Star Wars and they've got all the actors and it's just pure green screen. It would just be that, so much of that. And I think it's sort of just easier to have, and this sounds very tyrannical, but just to have full control over people's faces.
Yeah.
It definitely moves things along much smoother.
Right, because you're not, shooting sometimes a pain in the ass. with live actors.
Yeah.
As stuff happens, if you're just in your bedroom working on flash animation, it's on your own schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. Or the man cave, as I call this.
Right.
But I mean, there's pros and cons, obviously. I mean, pros are probably what I've just talked about. Cons, of course, is like if you, in the real world, said, "Oh, hey, actor guy, throw this ball." Done. Filmed. Done. But if you want to do that in the virtual world, you've got to get your guy's arm up, you've got to and you've got to make sure the ball moves realistically. And so that, obviously, something as simple as that is going to take a lot longer to put together as opposed to just asking someone to throw a ball and, it's done.
Right.
So,
that's
so there's
That's happened with me before where sometimes I'll just be doing it in After Effects. I'll have, a tree, and it's a picture of a tree, and then I have to mask around the tree, and then I'm inserting it into the background, and then it has to look right and scale right. And then when I'm actually shooting in a forest, I just go, "Oh my God, it's a tree!" And you get so much free when you're shooting something real. You're like, "Oh my God, the textures of the real tree." For me to simulate that or fake that would take me forever in the computer.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got that's something else. Landscapes. If you wanted to film if you had an outdoor scene, you've got to make that. You've got to make the mountains in the background. You've got to make the lake and the trees and everything. Whereas if you go outside in the real world and just find somewhere, boom, nature's done the job for you.
Right.
It's all there already.
Right. So yeah. So it's you have full control, but it's going to be way more work, scheduling, I guess. But anyways, it looks awesome. It's, I think, my favorite. Once I saw that scene in, I think it was episode 10 or 9 when all the troops are coming down.
Chapter 8.
Yeah, that was terrific.
Where they it's sort of like the and I think because StayTunedTV.net show it as well, and the guy from that site put a little synopsis with chapter 8. And he said it's Omaha Beach, sci-fi style, and I was like, that is exactly what I was thinking. That's perfect. That's such a perfect analogy. It's just sheer chaos, all these guys and these little troop ships coming through the atmosphere and just explosions and can't see because of the cloud cover and just chaos, nothing going to plan. I think it's the main guy's ship actually doesn't even make it, so...
Right, so if no one has seen this yet, you should go to YouTube and put in Frontier Prelude to Darkness. Now, your username on YouTube is Lou82.
Yeah, Lou82.
Okay.
Of course, I probably made my YouTube account long before I decided to start making Frontier, so stuck with Lou82. But
okay.
yeah, youtube.com/Lou82. That'll take you to my channel, and it's all there. So
okay, and check out episode 8, because once I saw that, I'm like, oh my god, this guy is extremely talented. It was the camera work was just fantastic in this scene. So yeah, check it out and check out his work, because when I saw that, I was like, okay, this is truly interesting stuff in the web series space.
Cheers, Trev.
But yeah, so how many episodes of the show have been put out so far?
Well, what happened originally is we put out. I was just putting out episodes with sort of temporary orchestral scores. So sort of like, I suppose, putting them out as works in progress. And of course, you can't really, you shouldn't do that. So I removed them because of the music, and
right.
started re-releasing them. I got on board, someone to do the music, and so then we had sort of a total original product.
Yep.
And so we're able to sort of release them, and that's what I've been doing now, is re-releasing, sort of bumping them up as best I can to HD, even though the resolution I originally made them in was disgusting. It's tiny. Right. But then re-releasing them on YouTube now once every, and Coldcast TV first.
Yep.
I'm sure you know the contract with Coldcast, put it there first, and then after that we'll put it on YouTube. And it's probably once every 4 weeks. So it's a chapter once every 4 weeks. At the moment, we're up to chapter 9. Chapter 9.
Yep.
And I imagine that for the first season, there's going to be roughly 24 to 26 chapters.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And the goal is 3 seasons. So, and I suppose each season functions like a film. If you threw all the chapters together, it would be like a film. But yeah, that's the plan as it stands. Yeah.
Right on. Now, you're doing a web series in New Zealand. Are there other New Zealand web series? Do you guys hang out?
The only other web series creator I'm aware of in New Zealand is a guy called Peter Haynes, who does. He's done a lot of sort of TV stuff, and then has sort of started doing web series stuff as well. And he does a web series called it's called Jungle Fever or something, Primal Fury. And in fact, this connects to your little Travis, because he does the main character of the series is a puppet. And everyone else is real live actors, and it's sort of an espionage sort of. The main character is a monkey.
Okay.
And it's sort of an espionage sort of conspiracy sort of story, but it's really good. And I mean, you watch it and you think, I think this should be on TV.
Oh, okay. So
really cool.
It looks pretty slick and good story.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, but other than that, I am not too aware of. I know that some of our TV networks have tried to throw in the odd web series, but you usually see them advertising for it on TV, and then within a month you don't hear anything more about it. It's gone.
Okay.
Sort of fart in the wind material.
now, how about connecting with other web series creators from from the States, Canada, and stuff? Where are you? Are you seeing it mostly in North America, or are you seeing it in different parts of the world, or?
Oh, I would easily say that Canada and the States are easily the I would say the hub of sort of web series creators.
Okay.
I mean, but I mean, I suppose I'm limited to. There is one actually from Turkey, which is a Star Wars a fan web series,
Oh, cool.
and that's quite cool.
Yeah.
The thing's called Rise of the Rebellion, which is very cool to watch. They've done put a lot of work into it. But other than that, it's really just Canada and US sort of just in regard to where everyone's sort of situated.
Okay.
Yeah,
What
but I mean,
about,
I was going to say, I suppose we're sort of limited to English speaking. Because if I jump across a web series and I can't,
Right.
don't know what's happening.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just gonna.
Now, what about you're really close? Are you guys side by side with Australia, or close? Or...
Yeah, I suppose if you.
I'm terrible at
Australia's
geography.
Sort of
So.
big, yeah. We're sort of I'd say, what is it, equilateral equator. We're on the same lateral sort of place as Aussie.
Okay.
Maybe a little lower, but
Now, have you heard of any?
brother.
Have you heard of any Australian web series at all?
I actually haven't, and I'm sure there must be some there. It's probably just me. I haven't looked hard enough. So yeah.
You're just on the internet all the time looking for Australian web series.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I suppose. I think I was saying to you earlier. Your time is so split, and you would sympathise too, being you got your family, you've got your day life, and then the little bits of free time you do have, you plunge into creating you'd be plunging that into creating Spellfury.
Yeah, yeah. I feel guilty if I'm like watching TV or a movie or even a web series. I'm like, damn, I should be working on the show. I just feel I can't enjoy my free time. I don't know. Maybe that you feel the same way. Just
I do. There's it's such a balancing act to sort of divide your time, and you've just got to do the best you can. But yeah, when you are sort of doing something that sort of is aimless, like I'm just going to sit and watch a couple of programs on TV, you then think, I really ought to be doing something on the web series. That's it's sort of like your baby, and it's like, oh god, it's sitting there and I'm not putting more into it. I've got this free time on my hands, so yeah.
The only thing I actually allow myself to do in my free time is if it's sort of research, if it's something fantasy based, like I was telling you, I was watching a Record of Lotus War, which is a Japanese anime Dungeons and Dragons type thing. So it has a connection to Spellfury where I could be watching and go, hey, that's a great idea, I want to do that on the show, or that's the only thing I give myself. But otherwise, I try to keep it to, I don't have much free time to watch stuff.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I'm the same. If there's some sort of science fiction thing I can watch, I'll be into it. I'll be like, well, this, it's for creators like me and you, inspiration is so vital and precious because it's so easy to lose it, and then like something comes along that you can watch, and if you get into that vibe, I know I do. I rush in here and I'm like, right, let's get something done, and your production sort of your work speed gets a real boost.
Yeah. Sometimes it's best to take a day off and just just do whatever you want, and then you're just itching to get back into it after you give yourself that day. I never do that, but when I do that, it sometimes works out pretty good. You feel quite inspired.
Yeah, just having that breather.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a list of topics to discuss today. The first one I'd like to bring up is I don't see a lot of coverage of animated web series, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on too. Is the web series community, from the way I see it, really doesn't include animated in the mix. Like for like I could be wrong, but for like awards and press and stuff like that. But some of my favorite web series are animated. Like I love your show. I'm a huge fan of Duralius and Associates from Escapist Magazine. I love that animated series. It's probably my favorite web series out there, besides my own.
Yeah.
But I just love that series, and it's animated. It's Flash animated, and it's about a bunch of adventurers, fantasy based. But yeah, are you coming across that? Do they?
Yeah, I suppose it's really easy, and this is sort of something I've dealt with. Is that when you do make something that's animated, it's very easy to be shoved into that category of, oh, it's a cartoon.
Right.
The sort of credibility factor drops a little. So, I mean, that's really easy to happen. And sort of the story I want to get across, and believe me, if I had the funds to do it, I would absolutely love to have, let's try and get some, real actors in here and make it grand and whatnot. But, reality bites, and you work with what you can, and so animated is the way you have to go. And I suppose people don't attach as much credibility to something that's animated as opposed to something that has real live actors with names and such, and because with Frontier, I'm really wanting it to be as gritty as possible, because I absolutely love. The one thing I never liked about Star Trek was they seemed so far removed from day-to-day problems, and I know that was what the whole aim was, but it sort of made a bit of a disconnect between me and the show I was watching. It was like, well, no one smokes, no one wears glasses, where are these real-life problems? They're not there anymore. And that was one thing I absolutely loved about sort of like Battlestar, the remake of Battlestar Galactica,
like the original trilogy of Star Wars.
If you've seen, and if you played Mass Effect, the game, stories like that, and Aliens is another one.
Ridley Scott's
very gritty.
Very
gritty, and just because people are from the future doesn't necessarily mean that they're all great morality and don't have any problems. And so of course trying to make something gritty and at the same time making it animated, they work against each other, and so it's hard to do. And I remember when I did my first release of Frontier, there was a lot of profanity in it and everything. And a guy I was Johnny Bora's guy I was working with actually said, look, you can't have a cartoon and have people saying the F word every 5 minutes. It's just not going to work. In fact, a guy did a review actually on Frontier quite early on, and he said, unless you're, what's that guy's name, Ralph Bakshi or...
Oh, Bakshi.
Bakshi, that's it. Unless you're Ralph Bakshi, you can't really pull this off.
Right.
So when I redid it, I removed a lot of the sort of F word, the F bombs and such. And so it's sort of a trade-off, and because of that, you end up even more falling into that category of, oh, it's a cartoon for kids, we won't really pay that much attention to it, which I think is wrong, because just because something is a cartoon doesn't necessarily take away from its general storyline, the complexity of it, and the journey that a viewer is going to take when they're watching it. I mean, I've watched... my wife is actually really bad. She's very guilty of this. If something is a 3D animated movie, like DreamWorks or something, she won't watch it. She's like, oh, no, it's a cartoon for kids.
Right.
And whereas I'm the advocate of it, I'm like, well, that means nothing. I mean, you could have some CG movies have had way better stories, and I've had a way better experience watching them than I have watching a live-action Hollywood film,
Sure.
And even computer games. A lot of first-person computer games, which are CG again, and are very easy to put off into the whole, well, it's a computer game, actually have better stories, much more intriguing storylines than the remake of Yogi Bear from Hollywood.
Sure. Oh yeah.
You see what I'm getting at, though. I mean, just because of the environment you film it in doesn't mean that it's going to be better than something that may be hand drawn or virtually made in a 3D world.
Yeah, a good story is a good story, right? It's just
different. Absolutely. So yeah, I would. Sorry, to get back to your question. I would say that it probably. I would imagine if I was Joe Bloggs and saw, it's a cartoon, I would probably pass it off a lot quicker than, say, something that has actual actors in it. I think that's just human nature, but I think it's something that ultimately people need to get past because I like to think I've got a good story going.
You do. It's engaging if you can get if you get past that the style of it. Once you get used to the style, then you're in it.
Yeah.
You just
Absolutely.
But that's what makes it fresh too. It's a unique look to it. And that's what I find it appealing. I'm more drawn to it. And I know with animation as well too, people can dismiss it, but it's a lot of times harder than doing live action. It takes longer render times, just way more work. Like the amount of work that goes into your show is incredible. Like is that all you must not sleep?
Well, I tell you what, I definitely schedule my computer to be rendering while I'm asleep.
Ah, okay, there you go.
So that work is constantly going on, so that there's not... one thing I hate is lost time, because that rendering time is such a killer. You might get you put all your work in, and it's great and it's looking awesome. You've still got to spend a good... possibly 16 hours rendering this to make it final. So
right.
Yeah, so there's a lot of sort of planning needs to go into how you are going to do your production if you're doing CGI.
Okay, now Lewis, you were on the set of Lord of the Rings. This is a great story, and I want to get to it. But first, I want to talk about spidvid.com. They're the sponsor for this episode. Their motto is connect, collaborate, and create video entertainment. They are an amazing site for people like us to go to find talent. So if you need someone to do voices on Frontier, or I need someone to do After Effects on the show to help me out, I go to Spinvid. I need a composer, I go to Spinvid. Do you know about Spinvid at all, Lewis?
I do, and I am quite certain I will be visiting it shortly.
Oh, good.
Because there's a lot of times at which you need, especially for Frontier voice actors and people just do the sort of, stuff you don't even think of. So yeah, something like Spidvid is actually amazing. It's really awesome that someone sort of put together a sort of a communication hub for people in the web series community. It's really good.
And it's funny you say that. I actually find there's tons of people who want to do narration and voices on Spidvid. I needed a narrator on my last project, and I just needed, I think, one narrator, and I had like 20 people apply for the job. So more than all of the other jobs, there's a lot of people who want to do voice work. So yeah, it's a great place to go. Now, also, one thing I haven't mentioned in any of the episodes so far, and this is the coolest thing, is Spinvid is setting it up so the project can make money. So how it works is you as the creator determine, let's say you want to do a new animated show, and you say, I need all these positions filled, everyone bids on the project, and then you determine how much that's worth. Like, I want to give him 1% of the profits or 2% of the profits. It's all set beforehand, and then Spinvid then tries to help make you money. They've got a unleashedvideos.com, and they've got like ads and stuff, and they want to try to make creators money. So I haven't mentioned that yet, but that's huge.
It is. It's really awesome that you see, because I think you see a lot of that people getting companies getting behind web series community, web series creators. It's really good to see that there is Spidvids out there doing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. I've done one project there. I'm going to probably do it again, because I don't know about you, but I try to spend most of my time on Spellfury, but I'm always coming up with like crazy ideas for other projects. And I'm like, no, you must work on Spellfury.
No, stay on the course.
Because we only have so much time. But with Spinvid, you can just have a script and let someone else direct it, someone else write it, someone else. You can field it out to the people on Spinvid. And also, let's say you wanted to make some money as an animator, you can also use Spinvid. You can actually go in and say, yeah, I want to get paid $10 an hour, and you can pitch, you can try to bid on projects, and you can actually make money on Spinvid. There's people doing that as well. It's not just free. Mm-hmm. I wanted to mention that as well because there's money involved here, guys. So if you're not on Spinvid,
all web series creators, you should definitely go and check these guys out.
Yeah,
this is.
At least
I'm going to be.
Exactly. At least do a profile and just see what happens. Like, just test the waters. If you have any projects, pitch them there. But anyways, so thanks to Spinvid for sponsoring this episode. And now you're going to tell us about your trip to the Lord of the Rings set. Was it Fellowship?
It was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Anyway, it was back in 2001. At that time, we were making we just made a film in high school, a terrible film called The Beast Within, and my film teacher actually sent that to Richard Taylor, who is the head of Weta Digital, and he saw it, and even though it was just pretty much, here's what I did. I wagged my entire 7th form year to make this film, and
now, wag just means just.
Oh, sorry. I suppose the equivalent, what is it? Skipping school, skipping class.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't go to pretty much just didn't go to my classes, and then instead just went to my film studies room, got cameras, and went and filmed stuff all year long. Many a detention later. Anyway, so my film teacher sent this off to Richard Taylor, and he thought it was, I suppose, for what it was, he thought it was awesome, which was. And he rang me up and actually said, I've just seen your film and it's awesome and you've got to come down and see the set and everything. And I mean, at the time I was 18 years old, and it was like, wow, Richard Taylor,
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
This is before he won the Oscars, so I couldn't say, wow, 2-time Oscar winner, Richard. Yeah.
Right.
But so we went down with our film teacher and just a few key people from the film. And we went down to Weta Workshop in Wellington, and Richard Taylor gave us a big tour around the place and showed us all the miniatures and some of the sets. There was a giant sound stage, and it was just filled with miniature trees.
Right,
right. It was like I was a giant walking through this forest. It was very cool. But it was just really amazing. And we saw all the sort of digital stuff they did, like compositing. Like you'd see a background of, say, just a beach, just a normal beach, like nothing too spectacular to it. And then this dude just hits a few buttons and this massive mountain range comes across it, and towers and such. So that, it was really amazing to go down and sort of see the inner workings of, like, Lord of the Rings, and all the people all the prosthetics as well. Like we went into one room and it looked like there was a dead body on the table.
Right.
It was like, oh, okay, sort of a bit worried here, but there's like, no, don't worry, this is actually just a completely prosthetic human.
Okay.
It's not real, but it looked so real. It was just uncanny. So that was very cool.
It wasn't a sleeping production assistant?
Yeah. It's like we've had him rendering all night. We're letting him have the table now. So and I think actually just doing that fully just gave me so much more inspiration to do more, to just fully jump into this sort of work. Just seeing what you can create. Create from nothing. Make a giant landscape mountain range from just footage of just a normal beach. Just to have that, the creation there is just like, wow. It's very cool.
Well, that's what I like about Peter Jackson is he just he uses bigatures, and it's about reality, and it's about making the armor the way they used to make armor. he's so
very
creative.
down to earth.
Yeah, like you said, he's gritty. He just likes he likes that too. But he's so creative and. But yeah, no, that must have been a thrill.
Oh, it really was. It was amazing. But yeah, no, Kimmy, it definitely, like I say, it definitely made me think, I want to keep doing this.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so Lewis, next on the list, we have Hollywood versus the web series. This is something you wanted to discuss. Explain.
You've got Hollywood, which has got endless amounts of money. And it just feels like at the moment, or at least for the last 5 to 10 years, that they've just fallen flat with the ideas thing. I mean, you've got remakes of, Yogi Bear, you've got remakes of cartoons, Scooby-Doo, A-Team. It's nothing but remakes of stuff we've already done. Yeah. And it just feels a lot like a big, giant recycling operation is going on. Which is good for people that haven't seen these shows in their youth, but the bottom line the bottom line is that where are the fresh ideas?
Right.
Whereas you've got the web community, which is the polar opposite. We don't have any money, but there are so many fresh ideas and amazing new concepts and stories that are being done, and it just seems like if there could just be that combination, putting old attitudes aside, and I know that this is a stretch, but it would be a marriage made in heaven because everyone would win, and it's not rocket science, it just seems like it would fit like a glove, and I know that. That there are lots of people who would be out there going, well, we don't want Hollywood in our backyard, and Hollywood people would be like, we don't want to have to delve into that. But I think ultimately when you look at the way technology is going, advancement-wise, the internet is becoming so much more of an entertainment factor as well as an information factor that it is, in fact, it's already rivaling television. Sure. I mean, you probably have more people who will want to go and be entertained by something on the net, on YouTube, a video, anything funny
cat video.
because they can choose what they want to watch.
Right. Well, with your first point there, with why is there so many remakes? From their mindset, they're thinking as an investment. They're going, well, Charlie's Angels was big in the 70s, so if we invest, $60 million. Into a film, odds are we might get those Charlie Angels fans in. That's a good investment. So they're really thinking as investors now more than actually taking risks. And what you're saying, I think, is why not use the web series space as a proving ground for ideas? So when they see people interacting with your show and really stimulated by Frontier. Then why not throw money at Lewis? Right? Is that
or Travis or Chris Greenaway
or
any of the selection?
Right? Yeah, because you've been doing it since 2009. I've been doing it since 2008. I've got close to 4 million views. Obviously, the idea is connecting with an audience. In a powerful way. Throw some money at us, guys.
It's just a win-win. Yeah. I don't see how it could be anything else. The proof is right there. You just need to look at the views. You need to look at the, Spellfury. You guys are generating so much viewership. You've got like TV shows, and you look at what their viewer is. 2 million, maybe 1 million. They're still getting funded, but then you look at an episode of Spellfury. It's like 4. Your views are just exceeding, and it's like I say, it's not rocket science.
Right. Well, and two, the way I've always looked at it is with TV and advertising. The advertisers pay for the ratings, and with me, it's just like build up your views online, and when the advertisers get that Spellfury is getting 4 million views of the series, That's a lot of eyeballs, and we have a certain demographic. And I've always known a smart company, might go, holy crap, that's a lot of eyeballs. Let's put some money behind that. Time is coming. It's going to get to the point where,
I agree.
So, we may be sitting pretty, hopefully from a year from now. It's starting to happen for me a bit. Things are going, okay. But again, we've discussed this as well, is, we either do it ourselves or hopefully, TV wants to do deals with guys like us.
That's the other thing, is not to come in and sort of take us away from our show. Before I was saying to you, it's like, don't exclude us, because you were talking about you got the offer to be a consultant
on my own show.
On your own show.
Yeah.
And it just seems so short-sighted, because you're the ideas guy. You're the dude that has thought of everything.
Yeah.
Why take you out of the equation?
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
No.
Well, from their side of things, if we put ourselves in their shoes, they're thinking, on TV, Travis hasn't proven himself. We're going to get someone who's a proven sci-fi director to come in and take this over. We're going to get proven sci-fi writers who can speak to a sci-fi crowd. That's how they're thinking about it. But it doesn't make sense to me. I think in this new future, I really like the fact where we have control, creative control. I think if we've got millions of views or even just hardcore fans, there's companies that want to sell products to those fans. We don't need anyone to come and help us and save us. We can do it ourselves. And I think it's going to get easier and easier as the advertisers get more comfortable in this space.
Yeah, I suppose it's a teething period, isn't it? It's like this brave new world where it's about user choice as opposed to this is what we think you should watch at 6 p.m. And so there's going to be a lot of sort of getting used to that and adjusting. But I think ultimately the adjustment needs to be made where you do have these big companies go, look, all right, the old business method just isn't going to work with this new multimedia technology environment. We need to sort of start rethinking things. And you've got us who are making all these shows online, and are getting viewers in, and they're watching it because they're choosing to watch it, not because they came home from work at 5 p.m. and it was all that was on the box.
Yeah.
So,
And the way I see it too is, I can't talk to George Lucas. He's not going to talk to me at all. There's no possible way I can ever get a hold of him, I'm sure. But if someone wants to talk to me, the creator of Spellfury, I'm there. If they comment on a video on YouTube, I guarantee you I'll get back to you. I pride myself on doing that. For me, that's what makes a web series better than a television show. It's that interaction with your fans, and you do that too. You have a
I endeavour to get back to everyone who has a question or anything, and I mean I'm very open to talking about the show and whatever you want, really.
Right.
So, and you're right, it's that interaction.
Yeah, it's I love it. I love being on the ground with the fans, and learning from them, and they ask amazing questions, and they try to guess where the storyline's going, and it thrills me. I love when people discuss the story with you. Has that happened before? I've had a few people who have tried to guess what's happening. In fact, I had one instance, and I loved this, absolutely loved this, was this debate arose about one of my characters, because I painted him as sort of, you can either look at him as a misunderstood hero or a complete douchebag. And he is, I won't say because the episode, even though it has come out, is going to be coming out again. He just makes a lot of questionable decisions, and I have one guy in some chat rooms and such who was so pro this character. He's like,
oh, I see why he did what he did, and I support him, and then you had other people going, no, the guy was an idiot. He did, and it was so cool. It was absolutely awesome to see people debating about a character like that. That was for me. That was the coolest. One of the coolest audience moments.
Yeah, it's a thrill. I got one yesterday that said, okay, can Kruskal please get his hands on the sword and then be king of Spellfury? He goes, I so want to see that. I want Kruskal with the sword, waving it over his head, declaring himself king. And I'm like, oh, that's so funny. Like, that was so cool. I was just so jazzed for like the whole morning. I was like, oh, just that visual, because I never really thought of that. I don't know. This guy really dug Kruskal.
Yeah, and it's awesome. It's like you say, it comes back to the whole interaction. I mean, that's what. I mean, if you want to do that, if you watch a TV show, what do you have to do? Write a letter, send an email, hope to God you even get noticed to be replied to? I mean, that's like you say, we're on the same ground with our fans, discussing our show, answering questions. It's so easy to, we're there the whole time. There's no sort of, oh, look, my secretary will have to take this one, and maybe I'll... there's none of that.
And people, a lot of, they say TV is converging with internet, and it is, but they still don't quite get the interaction that we have with their fans. Like, sure, the actors are going to tweet during the episode, or the director might tweet a bit and put out an announcement to the fans, but guys like you and I connect with our fans. Like, I know I do. Yeah. Like, my hardcore fans are my friends. They're really my friends now. They've been with me since, late 2008, some of them, and they are truly my friends. I talk to them. I know, about, what festivals they went to. They're asking me questions. I know their names. I say hi when I see them online. My fans, my hardcore fans are my friends, my real friends. Yeah. That's not going to happen with TV. They don't quite...
No. There's not that same connection, because it's almost like a sort of a them and us mentality. Them, the creators, us, the audience. Whereas we're sort of like, we still have that. We are still the creators and they are still the audience, but we will, sit down and talk with them and virtually, and hear what they have to say, hear what their questions are, and maybe even, change the direction of our show based on what their idea,
That's the cool part. It's the crowdsourcing of ideas. Like, when an episode comes out, I get feedback from them. If I'm not engaged with them, they might, you're not going to get real feedback. I love constructive criticism. I love when people say they love the show, but I always like to know why they love the show. When people hate the show, that's cool, but tell me why you hate the show, just so maybe I can change something. Maybe there is something off. Maybe, I love having my finger on what the fans are thinking about the episode. I think that's what makes the show stronger as the show goes on. I listen, and I think a show has to evolve as it goes on.
Totally. Yeah. No, I've actually, I'll just do a quick shout out to Sean Booth, who's probably my oldest and most hardcore fan. He's been great. Every time there's a video comes up, he's there and he's putting lots of comments on. So, yeah, just a shout out there.
There you go. That's how it's done. Now, just another few topics here. We'll wrap up. We've got a note on here about community. So you wanted to discuss this? Something with the web series?
Yeah, I think we actually sort of touched on that with what we were talking about with Hollywood versus web series community, is just the fact that that there are these websites there, like, for me, Sci-Final's a big one, just all the sci-fi web series, and just people that make these websites. They don't actually make their own show, but they make these websites to create a community for us. I just think it's really good, and I think it's really important to be in that community. And I know I've been guilty of not being as involved as I should be, and I suppose everyone is. But I know it helps. I mean, it helped me get in touch with other web series creators, you for example, and it's just good that we go back to that and put something back in. I think it was a big thing that Rich and Barrett were saying on your last episode was sure, take, but give as well.
Give, yeah. The more you give, the more you get back. It's just how it works in this community. Like there's sites like Rich's, Webseries Network, even Spinvid is great because it actually makes projects. It's trying to get you and I together and say, hey, make a project on the site and then make money off of it. Like there's some great tools there that if you're doing a web series, you should be using and trying to connect with other creators. Now, the IAW TV, you know about that, right?
I do. I'm not a member. That's mostly due to lack of funds.
Lack of funds, okay, sure. Would it, as a New Zealand web series creator, is there any appeal to join an academy or?
That's interesting because I suppose for you guys, it's like if there's an event, you can drive. Potentially, you can drive there. But for me, that's a 8 to 10 hour flight.
right.
Over the Pacific.
Well, I think virtually though. It's the same for me. It's the same for me for like being in Canada. It's tough for me to get to LA to go to a meeting.
Yeah.
New York maybe, but still it's going to be a long drive.
I was just going to say I think it's better if instead of a physical location's great, but web series. I don't know. We're all spread around the world. We all have no money. I think it's a more practical thing to do something more virtual.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be some awards in January, IAW TV Awards. I think having a classy awards for web series is a good idea. The Streamies, was a disaster.
Yes.
And then the IAW TV sort of split away from it. And again, the Streamies is going to come back, and let's see what they do with that. But
the Clark Productions and it's...
Yeah, let's give them a chance. But I'm excited about the IAW TV Awards. I think hopefully it's going to be a classy event, and hopefully highlight some of the top tier web series, or just people who are really trying hard and doing good stuff. Let's give awards to creators who are really fighting hard and kicking ass, and I don't know. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like you say, you don't want to just completely pander to the web series that have a big name.
Yeah.
Because that makes it very unfair for the people who are putting in their, the whole life into something,
It should be, you should get an award due to the content, not a popularity contest. But yeah, so the reason I joined it was I do like that sense of community, just like you were saying.
Yeah.
There's lots of different tools. The IAW TV is one place for creators to connect. I'm finding it really valuable now because they've got that closed Facebook group where you just can talk to creators and talk about issues or promote stuff, or it's for the first time I feel like I'm really getting my money's worth. It was a great idea. They used to have a forum where I'm always on Facebook, so it's easy to already be there and talk about web series, where it's hard to go to a website, I find, for me anyways.
Yeah.
Now, one last thing I'd like to talk about before we wrap up here, and this is a really interesting story. You have a sort of a big name composer on your show.
Yes.
Yes. Tell us about that.
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
Well, we've got Sven Falconer, who is he's in Santa Monica, and he is working with James Newton Howard in his studio. Sven's done. He's got a very impressive IMDb profile. He's done bits and pieces on movies that he's worked on. I think he's worked on mostly as a sort of like an sort of in an assistant capacity, audio mixer and things like that. But he's written some. I know he wrote a little bit of music for Green Hornet.
Right.
And works under James Newton Howard in his studio. And James Newton Howard's done Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, big name. I was just extraordinarily lucky that Sven is wanting to just come in and just help, just help out people. I mean, because I said from the get-go, look, I don't have any cash. This is all labor of love stuff.
Yep.
And just people who, and I just want to come in and just help and make something. And it's not about the money side. It's just about creating. And to get someone who's working in that industry, the professional film music industry is just it's a real blessing. I'm very lucky to have him. So yeah, that's good.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's like Rich said last episode. Sometimes you just have to ask, right?
You do.
Yeah, like I know we've got a guy who worked on Titan AE. Do you watch that film? The CG in it was sort of cool.
Yes, I've seen Titan AE. I liked that. That was a good film.
But one of the CG guys actually is going to help out on Spellfury just because I asked him. I'm like, sweet,
Yeah.
So it's just if they respect your work and they got a little bit of free time, there's a lot of guys out there that just want to help out and be part of it and do something fun.
And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, the worst that can happen is someone says no, and I mean, you're no better off than you were when you did it. I mean, you haven't lost anything. It's just, you at least asked. At least you know where you stand.
Right. Now let's just wrap up with. Do you have any advice for someone that wants to do a web series? How would they get started? Anything? Any tips?
Well, I mean, a good story. An engaging story, and just to make sure that you are going to be able to tell it with what you have to work with. Don't plan too big and fall flat on your face 2 episodes in. What I did was just, I knew that, can't do a big thing. I'm in New Zealand, I don't have any money, so do it all virtual. And you can tell a story. Good story and be realistic about what you can and can't do.
Right, yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap up there. So thanks for being on the show, Lewis.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. We'll have to have you back in a while, and you can tell us what you've been up to. And
sure, yeah.
And I just want to thank Spinvid for sponsoring this episode of This Week in Web Series, and I will be talking to you guys all soon. And thanks again, man.